A little bit of the trick that is being pulled, I think, on the 49ers, which if it works to their advantage is going to be great, is if we look at their first, bit of their year and say, well, they got a little bit of an easy ramping up period with their first couple of games at the very least, at the Bears and then home to the Seahawks. These sound like games that should be won by the 49ers. But that easy schedule feeling, if you will, Ray's got a little bit of a double-edged sword to it, because if you do well against an easy part of the schedule, I don't know how much credit anyone's going to really give you. Not that credit from the audience, fans mean a lot. Just the whole point is you go out and you win, and that's good enough. But we know it's not. So easy landing for Trey Lance feels fantastic if everything goes well. If it goes poorly, it's going to take the criticism and amplify it even more, because it'll all be looked at in the prism of, well, if it's that bad against these teams, how much worse will it be once they get to stiffer competition? And it's a legitimate question, and it's going to be part of the early season manipulation of information and deflecting of reality that everybody in sports media is going to be doing when it comes to the 49ers.
Well, I mean, like you take the Bears, who don't press that button. I know where that's going.
No, see, my hand is up. I'm not pressing the button. My other hand is not involved.
They're not a good team, but their defense is fairly highly regarded. So I could easily see where 49ers might struggle a bit offensively against that team and yet win comfortably, 20-3. It's the idea that you evaluate quarterbacks based on style points rather than simple results that has gotten people on the wrong side of the 49ers time and again. Because this is not a team of great fantasy draft bait. It's a team that just wins games. So, how you want to evaluate Trey Lance depends entirely on what you think he ought to be. If you think he ought to be a dynamic Mahomesian right out of the gate, oh my God, did you see that kind of guy? You're likely to be disappointed. If you think he's going to be a stat monster, sort of like Ryan Tannehill on a good day, you're going to be disappointed there too. The only thing you can rationally do is look for the things that he doesn't do well, and if he only does a few of those, you say, he's getting things figured out. So you've got to sort of evaluate your evaluation process.
Right. All he really needs to do is run and execute Kyle Shanahan's game plan smoothly and efficiently. Just that alone should get him into the win column. I don't know about accolades or fantasy football victory or anything like that, but just doing the things that Jimmy Garoppolo did. Make sure that you're not, getting a whole bunch of dumb penalties because you're not getting the snap off in time. Managing the information as it comes into you. Making sure everybody's on the same page before the damn huddle snaps. Which, look, we find out all the time that there are broken plays within successful plays that, hey, he wasn't supposed to be there, but touchdown, highlight reel, so no one ever criticizes that was actually a mistake that was made. It happens all the time. So keeping everybody on the same page with the same verbiage, getting that play off on time is really where this all starts. The bare minimum stuff, and then growing a little bit more dynamic week in, week out. I think we eventually get there. But early struggles, like I said, probably happen if things are going well. And if it goes poorly against what everyone looks at it and says, maybe it's an early, easy schedule for the 49ers, the heat is going to absolutely get turned up. Peter King, who's joining us today live at 5 o'clock, in his Football Morning in America column yesterday, he wrote the following under QB changes, that part of the section of the column. He says, Jimmy Garoppolo for Trey Lance prior to facing Kansas City in Week 7. Then later on, as he was going through his 10 things I think, it's so weird. By the way, it's so weird that Peter would now be framing this in a little bit of negativity because Peter King was actually on to Jimmy Garoppolo staying on this roster in the middle of last football season. And he was talking about it, how that probably should be the thing that happens. That probably is the prudent thing to do. But as he writes about it now, he's sort of taken another position. Quote, this is from Peter, and we're going to ask him about this at 5 o'clock today. He says, I think I don't want to be a negative Nate here. I truly do not dislike the San Francisco agreement to bring back Jimmy Garoppolo, but in the midst of all the kumbaya coming out of the, oh, it's great, we've re-signed Jimmy Love Fest, I wonder one thing. This is a veteran team that went to battle with Jimmy Garoppolo late last season and saw him beat the Rams in Week 18, then watch him be the quarterback in the winning playoff game at Dallas and in Green Bay. How will George Kittle and Fred Warner and Eric Armstead and Deebo Samuel, all good guys, all good team guys, react privately if Lance struggles in the first month of the season? Will the Niners Leadership Council go to Kyle Shanahan and say, come on, we got to win these games? And it's a legitimate question. But really, and I think this is something that you and I have talked about here, Ray, the only person who's going to get a vote on whether or not he's playing is Kyle Shanahan. That's it.
Yeah, and that's the only vote he's going to solicit, by the way. I mean, if the players come in, let's say in this scenario, and say en masse, we really think you ought to make a change, what he will say is, yeah, and I really think that's my call, not yours. And so that's why I don't think the players will do that. I think what they will do is do their best to rally around whoever's playing. Keep it simple on their end and not worry about the other stuff. Because I think the 49ers have conditioned themselves to believe that they win no matter who the quarterback is. So the less stuff you have to worry about that's outside your control, that's what you do. I don't see the notions of, conspiracy everywhere that everybody else does. I don't have a dog in this fight, and I never do. All I know is there's one guy in charge of everything, and he's the only guy, and it's Kyle Shanahan. If John Lynch wanted to come into his office and say, hey, I really think you ought to think about making a change, Kyle would throw him out of the office. That's Kyle's call. And so that's how I think you have to look at this. It's Trey Lance is in trouble when Kyle Shanahan thinks he's in trouble, and not before. And I think he's kind of pot committed to stay with him longer than other people.
Well, you got to stick with him through trouble. I mean, that's the thing. There's no developing any young quarterback. There's never been a trouble-free young quarterback existence. So sticking with him through trouble is going to be like the challenge. That is the race that Shanahan is running against the judgmental, NFL media clock. How quickly can he get his guy up to speed to where he's satisfying what needs to happen to win a football game, and then what needs to happen to get the entire world not breathing down the back of his neck?
Yeah, but I don't think he cares about them, because he's one of the very few guys in his business who is currently bulletproof. Whether they carp or not, he doesn't have to worry about it. Because nobody in the NFL media diaspora can get a hold of Jed York's ear to the point where that becomes a problem. This is a simple matter of Kyle Shanahan looking at the data and going, do I stay with him this week or don't I? And doing that week in and week out. It's a really simple binary thing. Did he grow a little bit? Did he hurt us? Is he making the same mistakes over and over again?
Can I correct that?
Yeah, I mean it's a math problem that he's doing by himself every week, because even Trey Lance's only input is going to be on tape. It's not going to be him going in and lobbying for himself. This is as easy as a quarterback controversy can be, because I don't think Kyle Shanahan is of two minds about what he's doing here. And I think the minute he becomes of two minds, you'll know it because he made a change.
It is funny. Quarterback controversy normally gets attached to, well, we have different personalities here, or we have such different skill sets and traits to measure against each other. You know, one is apples, the other is oranges. And that's really not what this is. It isn't. The truth is that Trey Lance will probably be very, you hope, similar to Jimmy Garoppolo early on. And then if you're saying, well, look, if he's similar to Jimmy Garoppolo, what's the whole point of making the move? Well, the point is this. He's similar to Jimmy Garoppolo in his first year ever doing the job. Jimmy's, in year 6, 7, whatever he is in. So that is, you're looking for a starting point. And that's the baseline of Trey Lance. If baseline Trey Lance as a starting point that has you reminded of Jimmy Garoppolo, some people will try to spin that into a negative. It's not. It's very much a positive.
It's neither. It's value neutral. It's a plan that, if it looks like it's going south, Kyle Shanahan will jettison. I mean, you can root for whatever side you want, but the only thing Kyle Shanahan is rooting for is get me to 11 wins. Get me to 11 wins. And whoever is more capable of doing that is going to be the guy he backs. And if it turns out not to be Trey Lance, he'll deal with whatever the offseason fallout is in the offseason. Because he's a remarkably linear coach in that he doesn't have to listen to anybody he doesn't want to listen to. And I don't mean just in the media. I mean in the building.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Of all the coaches in the NFL, there are maybe 6 who are more secure than him.
Andy Reid, Bill Belichick.
Yeah. Sean McVay. I think for right now, Zach Taylor is, because he went to a Super Bowl last year. I think Matt LaFleur probably is more secure.
Maybe McDermott in Buffalo.
Yeah.
It's a short list.
And he has the added advantage of not being second-guessed by his general manager, because his general manager works for him. So, this is really, it's one man alone with his thoughts, which is a lot different than, oh my God, the outside world is screaming for a change. He doesn't have to listen to him. And he doesn't.
And Mike Tomlin needs to be on that list.
Yeah, probably, although if they're as bad as I think they're going to be this year, he's been there a long time. He might get to be one of those guys who has to listen to the general manager and the owner.
Someone from the Comcast Business text line says it's actually an awful lot to ask from a rookie. They want him to be as good as a 6-year veteran? That's a tough ask. It is. Trey Lance is being put into a difficult situation. There is no doubt about that. It's weird. He's got equally big shoes and easy shoes to fill all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's, what they really wanted to do is run the offense. They know he's not going to be as smooth as Garoppolo was on his good days. But they want him to be efficient. And that's not going to come quickly, because it doesn't. But Kyle Shanahan has invested a lot of his, franchise planning over the next 3 or 4 years over the idea of being patient about this. He was patient last year when he could have put Lance in at any point, including after Game 8 when they were 3-5. And Shannon said, no, I don't have to do that yet. I don't have to. So I'm not gonna. They ended up, finishing 7-2. They got to the conference final. Shanahan looks like a genius again. Doesn't finish it, but that's on Jaquaski Tart as much as it is anybody. It's way less complicated than people want to make it, because they want to talk about this every day. And there isn't much to talk about. It's a series of Sundays. And, while we're going to be busy taking the temperatures of everything in and around Santa Clara.
Very hot today, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a suburb of hell. But, Kyle Shanahan doesn't, I keep saying the same thing over again because I don't know how else to say it. Kyle Shanahan feels no pressure except the pressure he puts on himself to figure out the best way to win a game.
Right. But his pressure is negotiating an NFL schedule.
Yeah.
It's not keeping his job. It's not proving Lance to be the right next anointed great quarterback in this league. It's not making sure Jimmy's got a soft exit or anything like that. None of that really matters to him.
No, it certainly doesn't now. And it's not even about, well, how many weeks should I give Lance? You give him as many weeks as you're comfortable giving him. Because most of the time in most sports, decisions make themselves. They don't get forced. They just sort of happen. Just go, this just happened. I've got to do something different. It just comes on you. You don't sit there and make the decision. The decision often makes itself.
Grandy, did I do the Trimark read coming into the break here? I can't even remember if I did or didn't. So let me give my friends at Trimark one more just in case I didn't. Because our friends at Trimark have been partnering with independent restaurateurs in Northern California for over 55 years, making innovative product solutions to help better your hospitality business. Trimark, visit TrimarkWest.com. Damon and Ratto, also brought to you by BMW Fairfield, the best Google-reviewed BMW dealership in all of the Bay Area. Go find out why for yourself. Visit BMWFairfield.com today and book your visit. So Peter King wraps up by saying he is picking the 49ers to reach the postseason. He's got them coming in at 10-7 and as the 7th seed in the NFC, just barely sneaking into the playoffs thanks to a tiebreaker with Dallas. And Peter King surmised the 49ers with the following sentence: "We interrupt this endless quarterback story to remind you the other 51 players on this roster are pretty good." And yeah, he's not reminding us about that, but it probably is important to let the rest of the football world know that even though quarterback is all that gets discussed and there's so much focus on it, the Niners got an awful lot more than just a quarterback to offer this year. And it's probably better than the quarterback. There's no probably about it. It's a lot better than the quarterback.
But it was better than the quarterback last year, and it was better than the quarterback 2 years before that. This is not a team that is led by its quarterback and never has been, at least not in the Shanahan years.
It'd like to be. We'll get there eventually, hopefully.
I'm not sure that it will. I have a feeling that this is going to be a team throughout Kyle Shanahan's tenure that's going to be run by its defense.
Well, there's always that. Everyone needs a good defense, but I see an offense to where Kyle Shanahan wants to take the governor off this engine. He wants to be able to he wants to go from 0 to 60 whenever he wants to do that. And he likes traveling in the 20-mile-an-hour lane. He does. He's not opposed to just cruising through games and winning time of possession and doing it the old-fashioned way. But I do think he wants the break in case of emergency. My guy can make plays with the best of them, quarterback. Well, coach wouldn't.
True, but I think in terms of managing a game, his ideal way is to have the ball for 35 minutes. It is not to throw the ball 45 times a game because you can. I don't think Kyle Shanahan operates that way. I think he finds his ego strokes and his amusements in running an offense based on the fact that he is redefining the way the running game is operated. I mean, other people have sort of cornered the market on being the passing genius. I mean, Andy Reid's got that essentially sewed up, let's be honest. But Kyle Shanahan has gotten massive amounts of praise despite the fact that his winning percentage is exactly the same as Rex Ryan's and Norv Turner's. And the reason why he gets that reputation is because he's done things with the running game that other people haven't thought of yet.
And by the way, you just brought up two other coaches to, sort of make a little joke there. Rex Ryan's reputation as a defensive coordinator was remarkable. And Norv Turner is a terrible head coach and one of the greatest game day strategists that the league has ever known.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, all I'm saying is Kyle Shanahan doesn't need other people to tell him what he does because he knows it better than they do. And yet he's been showing it to you year in and year out. So what, the fact that people believe to this day, well, Kyle Shanahan would really like to, be thought of as an offensive, mastermind of the passing game. I don't think he cares about that. I think he's already got that reputation. It's not for the passing game, though. It's for the fact that he's thought of things with a running game without elite running backs.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think it is? Every coach is looking for the simplest straight line to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And for some coaches and for some teams, that is their passing game. And for the kind of coach that Shanahan is and the kind of team that he's had, it's been the running game to this point.
And here's the thing. 3 years ago, when they got to the Super Bowl, with a largely run-first attack, they scored the 40th most points in the history of the league. He says, I can put points up. I'm just doing it this way. He doesn't have to do it the same way that Andy Reid does it or the same way that Zach Taylor's doing it. He's doing it the way that it works best for him. So I don't think he's itching to suddenly redesign his offense. I think what he's trying to do is perfect the offense he's most comfortable with.